Review time, everybody.
It's review time.
It's review time. All right.
So, Jack, I'm going to let you go first because I didn't actually get to hear what you said initially. And I put out another video, so the people's already kind of know what I thought. But you tell us your thoughts first.
Well, the first thing I want to say before I get into my thoughts is I hate all of you. Not you, Sasha. You're cool. But I hate all of you. So, as you all know, I work a full-time job. So, I cannot stay up until 1 a.m. to watch the episode. So when I wake up at 7:30, like 5 hours after the episode's been up, and I go on, I'm like, oh, I'll just go on Twitter. Oh, nothing's gonna harm me. Twitter's a great place, and I just spoiler thumbnail. Oh, you're posting stills from the episode without a spoiler warning. Why am I getting spoiled 5 hours after the episode when I didn't have the opportunity to watch it? I'm not gonna have the opportunity to watch until the end of the day. Why are we doing that? Why are I never post spoilers. Never. Like never.
Yeah.
Like even like our thumbnail today for this live stream is from the post-credit scene last week.
Yeah.
Like I don't do that. Why do people do? And I get it, it's for the clickbait. And y'all know how I feel about clickbait. Y'all know how I feel about those people. But it's like I wake up and I'm like, well, Richard E. Grant's doing cool shit.
Yeah.
Oh, Thanos copter's there. Cool. Something I didn't get to experience on my own. Cool. So
yeah.
Y'all suck. Not you, Sasha. You're cool. But y'all suck.
Thank you.
And yeah, I guess I'm not allowed to go on Twitter at all on Fridays, which is my
that's the
favorite
thing.
site, which is my favorite site, by the way.
Yeah, you're on Twitter a lot. So that is unfortunate. For me, I think that is the one thing, because I've gotten in a bad habit of like too many times just like being on Instagram and Twitter like first thing when I wake up, which I'm like, I just don't need that, because sometimes you'll fall in like the bad Twitter thread early in the morning, and that's just not how you should start your day.
And then you're like, oh, it's like time to go to work and I haven't even showered yet.
Yeah, exactly. You'll just be like dedicated to that. And so like the one thing that's been good about these episodes, or like knowing their spoiler stuff MCU wise, which is like my favorite franchise ever, I just stay off of it. And it's gotten me to cut down my time a little bit until I at least see the episode. And then afterwards, like I definitely am not the best about retweeting stuff, but like spoiler stuff, but I usually don't necessarily go on like first thing in the morning. So like, I don't know. I definitely think it's super unfortunate, because it really just is people trying to get the numbers up early in the morning.
That's exactly what it is. And I didn't do that with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I didn't do that with, well, okay, I lie. I may have done that with the finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I'd seen that everyone else had already done it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna post a suit. Deal with it. But I didn't do that with any of the other ones. It's just an unfortunate reality of this world that people want to get the clicks, and that's what they're in for. And you know, I want to do this full time someday, and I guess I'm never going to, because I don't do that, because I like to not spoil it for people, and then those people are the people that end up getting to do it full. Yeah, it's a whole thing, and I'm just, you know, it just rubs me the wrong way. It's like that whole thing about like the good guy never win. It's like that whole thing. It's like,
yeah,
the good guy win here. Don't spoil it. All right, but actual episode. I'm a little lukewarm. I'm not gonna lie. And is it because I had some stuff spoiled? Maybe. Because the great thing about this episode is the fact that they're talking about how it's like so many like realities are just being thrown into like this void at the end of time. So you get a lot of really awesome Easter eggs, like the Thanos copter, like all of those different Easter eggs. I'd seen them all on Twitter already. So I wasn't like playing a game of, oh, let's see all the Easter eggs. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to see that. I'm going to see that. I'm going to see that.
Yeah.
So but then also it's just like, we didn't really do anything. And I know that people argue that for episode 3, but the thing about episode 3 is that the dialogue and character development, I believe, was much more stronger than this episode. We got to see the new Lokis, but that didn't really lead to anything. You know, like I thought we were going to see President Loki as the Loki that we knew. For him to be another random guy and another random Loki, and then they just get into a fight, I'm like, that was such wasted potential. Like, that's wasted potential. Because I was excited to see what that was going to lead to. So I don't love that. I love Richard E. Grant. He's fantastic in this. I'm not gonna lie, like I love that part. But it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, I didn't feel as I thought all the Lokis would end up working together. It was gonna be this whole thing, and it just ended up them getting into like a little bitch fight, like over power, which in the end makes sense because it's Loki. Like that makes sense. But for me, I didn't love that. Now I did not, but I didn't hate the episode. I'm not gonna say I hate the episode. I liked Tom Hiddleston and Sophia DiMartino are phenomenal. Like Sasha earlier in the stream, like just
chef's kiss. Oh, like
they are so good, so like without a doubt. I mean, Sophia DiMartino is brilliant in this show, and y'all need to give her the credit that she deserves. Sylvie is like my favorite character in the show. Besides, like, Mobius is obviously the god, but like Sylvie's like my favorite character that has had the most character development, really. Because Mobius, Mobius he has had a lot of character development besides the jet ski. So I like that. I do like that we got Mobius back. I like all of that. I like the ending cliffhanger. I think that that's great. I just enjoyed those parts of. I enjoyed those parts. But a lot of it was exposition and kind of just introducing us to the Lokis, and then the end that really doesn't come into anything. Yes, we could see again. I said Richard E. Grant is the exception because he does the the awesome just ending where like he makes we see the full power of a Loki. I don't think we've ever seen. I like that, but besides that, it didn't really come to anything. Like in the end, Mobius kind of did a lot more of the saving because he saved Sylvie from the whatever that cloud is. So I was lukewarm on that. I love the third episode so much because there was so much character development, so much development, so many great conversations, and we get great conversations here. We do. I'm not saying we don't, but that one just worked a little bit better for me. Now I will say the cinematography. Oh my god! I literally was sitting here with my mom and sister. The opening shot where it like pans over the lane and then they do like it like turns, and I'm like, oh, you're not about to do a 360 cam. Oh yeah, you are. I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. But in general, I left a little lukewarm. Now, it doesn't take away from the fact that I still think it's one of the better episodes of all of MCU. I'm not going to lie about that. But of the series so far, probably not my favorite, is what I would say. But I want to hear your thoughts, Sasha, because I've not seen your review yet, so I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, then we'll do the quick version here, the talking points. I really love this episode, and I honestly, I'm very like, I think your reasoning makes a lot of sense, but I'm surprised only because this episode made me appreciate episode 3 even more, just because in episode 3 now, if I had not spent 45 minutes or like an entire day or longer with Loki and Sylvie together, with no TVA, with no Mobius, with no other distractions, I would not have bought that any of the things happened in this episode because they have a bond. Like if that had just been a partial episode and we've been switching back to like what's going on in the TVA at the same time, like I would not have bought that. And so that is why I love this episode, because it calls back to episode 3's emotional weight and that sort of thing, but it has the action and the mystery I feel like that episode 4 has, that people really liked. And so that is what was, I think, my favorite thing about this episode. I also, and I talked about this a little bit in my review, which like I guess we can get into, because obviously the one thing that's been consistent with all of these Marvel shows is the comic book accurate like costumes and the callback to the comics and throwing things in. And I like that for both President Loki and Richard E. Grant and all that kind of stuff. And I think it works really well here because it's like a variant. I think it was a really great choice to be like, oh, psych, there's another Loki that looks exactly like Tom Hiddleston. You guys just don't know him. And like, I think it's kind of fun because our Loki, even though he's changed and like we have a lot more knowledge of him than he has of himself, this is 2012 Loki, which I would argue is the lowest of the low Loki because he just lost to the Avengers. He just lost his place and his favor in Thanos' eyes and whatever. He's not even as like low, I feel like, as like young Loki and Thor, who's like full of vengeance and like ready to get back at his brother, but like he's lowest of the low. And then we have Loki, who's like literally like king of them all, the one they're all scared of. He's got a whole clan. Like, I thought that was just such a fun little like juxtaposition of the two of them. And for me, it worked because quite honestly, in that moment, even though like in WandaVision, I would have liked to see them in their Halloween costumes more so together, obviously, because that would have been cute. Or in, well, did Falcon and Winter Soldier really have comic book accurate costumes?
Falcon's Captain America one is relatively.
His is relatively, his Falcon costume they'll never do from the freaking from the comics, but yeah, so like I appreciate those, but for me in this time, it made the most sense of like, would I really have wanted 10 extra minutes in this episode either taken away from the rest of the plot and devoted to, spending more time with the Lokis in stuff that never would have gone anywhere, or had an entire other plot line of our Loki becoming the president? No. I just kind of came to that decision pretty like quickly within watching the episodes that I think it was enough for me to like get the appreciation, get the Easter egg, like get the like references, but like not really have to spend too much time with them. And then having it all devolve into chaos is like the most Loki thing possible. And like you get the core group of Lokis to just like exit out, the kid, Richard E. Grant, the alligator, and Loki himself, and they just like go off and go. And I really thought too they were gonna do this whole thing where like Mobius and Sylvia are gonna miss Loki because he's going in one direction to go find them and they're going towards the dragon or somewhere else to find him. So like I just liked the fact that this didn't go anywhere I thought it was gonna go. I liked the surprise of it. And for me personally, like I think this is a perfect penultimate episode for an MCU show. And the reason I say that is because when they were fighting Goliath or like going up against him, I kept thinking like any like 5-minute segment, I'm like, whenever there's a pause, they're going to cut it. Like, that's going to be the cliffhanger. I did think that. They're going to cut it. And they took it all the way to the end when she enchants him and they're headed into wherever they're headed next, towards that, like, weird house building thing. And, like, I love that because to me, it's a lot of, potentially Quantum Realm. There's so much, it's thorough. It's complete. It's an action sequence that doesn't need to be carried into the finale, and it leaves the finale to be completely its own thing. And that's what I really liked about this episode. And for this show, which has been a very talkative show like even with WandaVision literally being a sitcom, this one is the most like, let's actually have conversations like we would in a play or a nothing happens type movie, but still having the MCU stakes, action, and world building that we're used to. And I think like this episode kind of has all of it. And then I even think some of the sequences with like Miss Minutes and Ravonna Renslayer and Sylvie together at the TVA are really important for the show, and I like the way it balances that. So like I think this is just the best penultimate episode that I could have hoped for. So I really liked this episode. Episode 1 I think is forever going to be my favorite from this show just because it was everything I wanted it to be and more. But I think this episode is fantastic, especially the way it sets up the finale. I love the fact that I'm going into the finale being like, I don't know what the heck is going to happen. Like, I just think that's perfect for this show. And this episode was literally called Into the Mystery. And like, I feel like that's where it got us. Is it took us through the void and it took us on, and like, we're headed to the next thing now. But I still feel like it accomplished a lot in and of itself. And sorry, last thing, I know I'm on like a ramble. I really, really loved the note of each of the Lokis, specifically our main band, referencing their relationship with Thor and how much that is a part of Loki's character. Because I've never really thought about it in this context, but like Loki really is defined by his relationship to Thor, both in his vengeance, his need to cause mischief in a way that's like defined as mischief, even though like lightning and thunder is like not like calming by any means, but like like Loki is just like, he's an outcast, like from the beginning. He's made to survive, like, and try to like overcome things. And I really liked the fact that like anytime there was a kind of shift, which I think will be a theme that will be addressed next episode, and I hope in the future of the show, of like who gets to be a better person. Because like all our major MCU characters, but specifically Tony Stark, beloved, I think he has the best arc in the entire Infinity Saga. He gets to be redeemed. Kind of multiple times over, he gets to make mistakes and be redeemed. But in this show, they make the comment specifically of Richard E. Grant's character wanting to be a better version of himself and like go and have a good relationship with Thor instead of like staying out of everything. And literally just that action of trying to leave wherever he is in isolation is his Nexus event. And I think to me that that's like the most, that is what the true evil of like the TVA is controlling who gets to be, who gets to change, who gets to have the arc, who doesn't. And so like I think that was just really, really great writing within an episode that had a lot to get us from the timekeepers aren't real to we're going past the end of time to like figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah. I mean, I do echo a lot of the things that you said. I hadn't really thought about how it harkened back to episode 3 with the relationship, but that does actually make a lot of sense. I do like that about it a lot. I do agree with you about the final battle, how it was paced nicely, where it's not going to linger over to the next one. It's like I've said, each series has gotten significantly better, incrementally better time and time at their cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Is WandaVision absolute garbage? Falcon and Winter Soldier nails it a lot of the time. Literally, like I think it was episode 4, with obviously the bloody shield. That is the best cliffhanger of an MCU show so far.
But even the first episode with just being like your new Captain America was like,
yeah. But I think this one, while there aren't as many shocking cliffhangers, which last week was, and episode 2 was, but they are consistently paced and set in the right place. Where one, what the flip it was doing. But I did. And look, I know it sounds like I'm bashing this episode, and I think the reason why is because I've been so high on the rest of them. So, but I do like a lot of what you said. I do love Richard E. Grant. I think he's fantastic in this. You can tell he's having the time of his life.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I gotta disagree with you about the President Loki. I just didn't.
I knew you would.
Like the execute, I did, because the way it's set up in all of the ads and all, it got you thinking, oh, Loki, he's gonna have a band of Lokis behind him to take down that's what we're thinking, and take down the TVA. Or at a time we thought he was gonna take down Sylvie because she was the villain, but now she's not. Oh, he's got a band of Lokis. They're gonna team up, take down the TVA. But no, it turned out to be kind of like a gag where it's just like, oh, Lokis are all selfish. They just want power. They're just gonna fight. I can understand that, like, thematically. I get it. But I was just like, I don't really like that. I did like the bait and switch, though, being like, wait, there's no Loki looks exactly like.
Well, I also think the one thing that I really liked in this scene, which I only now realize, like, talking about Richard E. Grant, the classic Loki, like, raising up the Asgard at the end, I liked the fact that there's the double take of our Loki looking back and seeing him projecting each one of them, like a version of each one of them, including the alligator, I think. And like the fact that that's like a reference to maybe how untapped his powers are is so cool. And like I think kind of the through line of like Loki only able to be doing like really magic, always a magician, and then Lady Loki or Sylvie being the enchantress and like being able to do all these things, and like then the end being like when they're at their stakes, like Loki's used their magic to survive. I really like that. Listen, I think at the end of the day, the President Loki thing is like, do I love that it was hyped up in the trailers? No. But have I looked forward to it all season? And like, I think that's the worst part for people, is that it's like, it feels like they know, oh, this is only a segment, but like we're going to throw it in the trailer. But like, that's what trailers are. Like, I've heard a lot of discourse about people complaining about trailers recently. And I want to be like, you know what? At the end of the day, they're trying to get butts in seats. They're trying to get your dollar in their bank account. And if that trailer did it because they put in 1 second, like, it's, as much as we joke about like content creators doing clickbait, like movie studios have been doing clickbait for years. Like, I swear I went to go see 42, the Jackie Robertson movie with Chadwick Boseman in it. Fantastic if you haven't seen it. It is amazing. There's a scene where he kisses his wife on some New York street. Never in the movie. It's like on the cutting room floor. Never in the movie. So like honestly, like I'd rather it be in there and be in the show than like not be. But I understand. My first thought when I saw it was like, I'm loving this, but I know people are not gonna like the way that this was played up.
Yeah. Just how it goes. It's just how it goes. But I mean, let's get into specific stuff. I mean, I don't really know. It's kind of my whole beef. I don't really think a lot happened in this episode. I do like the point at the end where we're gonna get our Thor Ragnarok moment with Thor when he reaches his full potential. We're gonna get that with Loki in the next episode. I truly believe that we're gonna get him in his full potential. I think Sylvie as well. I think they're both gonna reach their full potential in that next episode. But I don't even know. I just don't really feel like there's a lot to talk about this one, because it's just like they're kind of hanging out, they're kind of talking, they fight the cloud at the end. Let's get into the next episode.
I mean, I guess I think this was a little bit more of like the fanfare Easter egg type episode of like kind of play I Spy a little bit.
And we are setting up for the finale, so it's like
the thing I think is the most heavy weight material for this episode that I think I could make the argument that like, no, I really enjoyed the plot of this episode was one, all the stuff with Renslayer. Like, I don't know minute to minute if she's the woman behind the curtain.
I don't either.
The one who knows who the woman behind or the person behind the curtain is, or if she's literally has no idea and she's just so sworn to this power that she's now become accustomed to that she's gonna like figure it out before anyone else does, so she can retain the power that she has. And so like I liked that. I liked the I think I just liked Loki having to learn to trust different versions of himself and not rely on being an individual.
Learning and to trust in general.
Yeah, seriously, because that's definitely something that's new for him. And like now he's got to trust a bunch of other versions of himself that he knows are like the last person he should trust because it's him. It's different versions of him. And like, I don't know. I think I just like, I guess if you want to make the argument that this is, I don't know, because to me, this sequence could have been, if you want to make the argument of just, okay, they just need to get through this void world and they just need to get to the end. It could have been 20 minutes in tacked on to the finale. But to me, to keep the pacing of the show so well done, I liked that it was in this void thing that we're kind of going from believing there's no escaping. They're just going to have to run around forever avoiding this like Fortnite storm monster, which is like what I compared it to. Because this whole episode reminded me of Fortnite. Like there's broken buses, there's the Thanos plane, Mobius is driving like a pizza cart, and you can't tell me like that's exactly like there's gonna they should just be skins of this in Fortnite now. Fortnite too, because like it just feels the same. Exactly. It just needs to be like the Loki season or what. Like I don't even know how Fortnite works like that, but like I know there's cars in Fortnite now, so it's like yeah, just put the pizza car in there, like whatever. And like, but I think I just liked the fact that they made it really like a trek through this space, and I think it parallels episode 3 really well in that way, and like uses callbacks to like their relationship, them trusting each other. And the one thing I have to give this episode credence to, which we talked about a little bit on this stream, I like the fact that they were like hinting at the romance stuff but didn't actually do it, because like when he goes and touches her shoulder, I was like he's gonna create a freaking Nexus event by like kissing her or something. Like that's gonna be what it is.
I literally let out an audible, don't do it. I let like literally audibly, I was like, don't do it. So,
but I think like and so I'm glad they didn't do that, and they even did like they held hands and stuff, but it's more of like to combine their powers.
Yeah.
But like I mean, and I gotta say this, and I guess this is controversial, but like people are coming for me for my High School Musical ship, so come for me, whatever here. I don't ship Loki and Sylvie by any means, but like I'm more okay with it. I'm more okay with it now than I was last week, and I'm probably gonna be more okay with it next week. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's each time they reference the romance being there, but don't like rush into it, that I think it grows on me more. because like it's being addressed, like it's there. Like you can't tell me when they're having that scene with the blankets and he like extends it to be around her
And he,
too.
like, gives him that look. I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, is it gonna happen? Am I, because you're building yourself up to be okay with it in that moment, and then the moment passes and you're like, okay, like I'm a little bit more okay with it now. You know what I mean? Like it's just a tolerance building, I think, that they're trying to do.
ship is in the harbor now. See if you can spot another romance come into.
The only thing I don't like, just because it just feels like, okay, why? But like not for any reason particular. It just feels like he makes the comment, "We're all bros here," or like not. He doesn't say that. Obviously, that's would not be well written line. But like he's like, "We're all bros here." Like, have you ever met a female variant of us? And like Sylvie's the only one.
Terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, yeah, no, totally. But like, I don't like the idea of just like, oh, well, because she's the only female, like they're gonna be together. Like, I'm totally fine with her being the only variant of Loki. That gives her more mystery. That it's like, why is that the only reason? Is the fact that she's the only female variant of Loki, her Nexus event? Is that it? You know what I mean? Because she's in like a gender bent universe, I would assume. Or she's the female Loki, and so like that's her existence, mere existence is her Nexus event.
Yes, but you could argue she was taken when she was like, looked like what, 10 maybe,
right? Which I would then say,
wouldn't it just be like when she was born, it would be like,
yeah,
oh, you're not supposed to, yeah, we're taking you.
Yeah, so I don't, so who knows, because like,
that is,
yeah, I can't say that. But then at the same time, I'm like, okay, maybe even though the TVA is messed up and they like kidnapped and orphaned a little girl, like, I mean, you know, they waited till she was like 7 or so, whereas like Rhodey was ready to take out baby Thanos. You know what I'm saying? Like just he was ready to get him. So like maybe Renslayer was like, all right, 7's fair, like we're taking her now. I don't know, but that's, I just think that was like, because that was pointed out, I'm like, oh, like, and I am not this way usually with like, I don't care if female characters, she's the only female character. If she's in a relationship that makes sense, sure, absolutely, does not matter to me. But like, I don't want it to be like, oh, well, like, she's the only girl, so like, I guess I have to be with her. Like, there's no other guys or gals I can be with now. So like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? She also said the comment about having someone at the end.
I know, but I was literally about to say a comment that she said in this episode that I actually really liked because it showed depth for her. She's like, I've never done this before. I don't have anyone. Like, yeah. She made that comment here, which means that she was kind of acting a little in episode 3. She's like, oh yeah. But she really, I feel like in here she really opened up. She's like, I don't have anybody. Like, she's like, yeah. I've never done anything like this before. Like, I don't have, like, I did like that because I think besides Loki, because I think Loki Leaps and Bounds has the best character arc of this entire show because it's his show. But I think Sylvie comes in a close second. I think she's had a great character arc, and I think that is really topped off in this episode because we get that conversation in particular to really, see that she is now up now, because Loki was kind of a tough cookie to crack, but like an episode by the end of episode 1, he had already cracked.
Yeah,
he'd already cracked. Where Sylvie was hardened. You weren't going to get it. Like, in the first 2 episodes that she was in, it's like, you're just not going to get through to her. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
The fact that we're really starting to, like, kind of, like, thaw that ice is the analogy I'll use. We're starting to, like, thaw that around her, and, like, she's really starting to crack and open up. I really liked that conversation. Because
feels very earned.
Yeah. And that harkens back to episode 3, like you said, which I do agree with, is that it feels you're more attached to, and it's more believable now, the relationship that they have, and the fact that they do trust each other, and the fact that they're actually willing to open up to each other. Like, yeah, that I do agree with that.
And this is where, like, the single episode weekly release, it carries a lot more weight for the things that happen in a 45-minute show, because like episode 3, that's all we got that week, that's all we got to fester on. I mean, we talked about it multiple times over and over about their character growth and development. And then by the time you get episode 4, you're like, oh, okay, well, it wasn't too bad. Like, like we're back at it now. Like, show's not taking a turn for the worst or in a direction people don't like. And then like now I feel like it's like it feels like we've known these characters have this bond for 3 weeks now. So it's like you believe in the show that like he would say no, like we're going together. Like we're going to do this together. And so like that's why this kind of format works for me. Is you feel those emotional ties way deeper than if it was like, okay, episode 4 comes out the day after episode 3 and you don't have to fester on it for too long.
You don't get to think about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay, instantly into the
right.
The last thing I'll say, and it's very, very quick, but I loved the Mobius and Loki hug, and he's like, thank you.
It was great.
I almost shed a tear. I was like, this is beautiful. I love this. And Mobius, he's like, what are you gonna do? And Mobius like, burn it down to the ground. I'm like,
which is what Loki says in the first episode, which was a great callback.
Their friendship is just
fantastic.
So good.
Well, yeah. And I don't remember where it was in the episode, but Loki at one point, and I was gonna make a meme about it, but I just didn't have the time today. But like Loki goes, "Oh, my pleasure" or something, and I was like, "So Loki works for there's a variant Loki that works at Chick-fil-A now." It's like telling everyone, "My pleasure, my pleasure." Like, just gave me a good laugh.
Oh yeah, and then I did really like the whole harkening back to Glorious Purpose.
Yeah,
that whole
like,
thing.
That's a bunch of baloney.
And then Richard E. Grant at the end, he's like, glorious purpose. Like, it harkens back to the first Avengers movie where he's like, I've got this glorious purpose, and I'm like,
yeah,
it's not just Loki, it's all the Lokis. And I do like some of those callbacks. Like again, guys, I know it sounds like I'm being really negative because every other episode I've praised and loved. I enjoy the episode. I'm just not as high on it as I am the others. I really enjoy a lot about it. But yeah,
everyone gets a dip if they want it.
Yeah, and that's just how it goes. But Sasha, I'm gonna ask you final thoughts on this episode. How are you feeling?
Final thoughts. I loved it. I think it was the perfect penultimate episode. I think this show as a whole has kind of like a U-shaped arc. We started really high. Episode 3 for me was my low point, and I think but then it slingshot us back up to I'm not doing this very well, but it's slingshotted us, whatever verbiage or term, grammar, tense, whatever. It got us back to where we were going and where we need to be. And I feel like everything feels so much more earned, so much more emotionally heavy. There's so much more stakes going on this to me. And like, I feel like this show was never intended to be banger, 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 like great episode after great episode, or like the sitcom from WandaVision has its own like ending because it's like you move on to a new decade next week. But this, for continuation of story, I think it has done an excellent job throughout the entire season of pacing everything well. And I'm so excited at the way this episode ends and what we have planned for next week.
Absolutely. My final thoughts, I guess I'm a little lukewarm on it, but there's a lot I really like. I'm very excited to see where where this season ends.
Yes.
And there's a lot of potential and possibility.
So much.
I'm very excited to see where it ends.